Hey guys, how's it going? Just wanted to make a quick video about completing the square, things that we've talked about in class the last few days. Just got two quick examples. All right. The first one here is going to involve a problem, and it doesn't look like it right now, but the leading coefficient is only going to be 1. All right, it's going to be 1x squared. So, like I've said in class, what you want to do first is you want to try to simplify. So the first thing we should do is group like terms, make this as simplified as we can. And in doing so, we'll also make sure that we put the constant, right? We got to move the constant term, the term that doesn't have the variable. We have to move it on the other side of the equal sign. And also we've stressed that the setup, meaning these plus blanks that I'm going to add, are very important. Because to me, I think it just kind of guides what we're doing. Okay. It serves as a reminder. And I think it just kind of keeps you organized. All right. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to group like terms. So I'm going to subtract the 4x, right? So the 4x squared will get subtracted. The 13 will get subtracted. And that gives me x squared minus 8x. Let's see, 37 minus 13. All right, well, I'm also going to put these plus blank spots, right? And we got 24 plus another blank. So that's what I mean when I say setup. You want to understand, this part right here, getting to that step is crucial. Beyond this, now it's time to take half of b. In other words, divide b by 2. All right. And then we got to take whatever we get and square it. So b is the term that's attached to the x. So -8, right? The sign travels with it. -8 divided by 2 is -4. And now I got to square -4. So every time we square a number, whether it's positive or negative, it's always going to be positive, right? That's why I was able to put plus a blank. We don't have to worry about, well, is it going to be minus? No, it's always plus. Now it comes time to factor. All right. You're only factoring over here. And this is a perfect square trinomial, meaning you would get x minus 4 twice, but we're just going to write it as x minus 4 squared. On the other side, I need to group like terms. 24 and 16 is 40. And that's completing the square, guys. Like that's us getting our equation to a square so that now we can do what we've learned last week and just do this to both sides and solve for x. All right. Now, go off to the side. Think about breaking down 40. There's 8 and 5, 20 and 2. But we worked with 40 before. 4 and 10 is the best option because 4 is a perfect square, right? Remember, you're always going to have plus or minus. So it's 2 root 10. Lastly, you just want to get x by itself, so add 4 to the other side. All right. Why isn't this scrolling? Okay, so that's the first type of problem you're going to be asked to do. One in which the leading coefficient is just 1, right? 1x squared. So down here, you're going to see that that's not going to be the case because as we group like terms and we move the constant, so as I add this 5, right, to the other side, and I focus on my setup, in other words, my plus blanks, I'm going to notice here that it's not just x squared, it's 2x squared. So the problem with that, guys, is it's not going to factor right now into a perfect square trinomial. Because think about regardless of what number we put here, if that first term is 2x squared and we go to factor it, the only options are 2x and x, right? It's not a perfect square. I'm not going to be able to just put one parenthesis squared. It wouldn't be the same thing. So that's the issue. And think about when we've solved problems last week. Think about when we've graphed quadratics in vertex form, right? A is that first number. So right now we're just finding out whatever A is. So what we have to do is we're only concerned with these two numbers. And you're only concerned with 2 and 12, not the variable x. So what's common between 2 and 12? Well, we're going to take out a 2. And now we're left with x squared plus 6x plus a blank equals 10 plus a blank. All right? I'm beyond this now. This 6 is now what I take half of. And now I square it. Okay? And I put that number here. But we have to think well, this really isn't a 9. Just like this really isn't a 6. This really isn't an x squared. If I distribute that 2 back in, this value on the left side of the equal sign is going to be 18, which means on the right side of the equal sign, we have to put 18. So make a note to yourself that when the leading coefficient is something other than 1, these numbers won't be the same. They're going to be different. Okay? From here, we factor. We divide by 2. And we solve. And I'm going faster now because we've learned this. We've quizzed on this. I'm not saying we're masters at it, but this part should be familiar. The focus needs to be on how we get to this step. All right? And lastly, square root both sides. Already I'm thinking 14 does not simplify. Can't forget about plus or minus. And finally, you just got to get x by itself, which means subtract the 3 over. And that's it, guys. So I know it was only 2 problems, but pause the video, go back, rewatch it. Take down notes. Compare the notes that you've taken in class to what I just did here, add to it, elaborate on some things, how I kind of just abbreviated up top here, and figure out what works for you, and also figure out what questions you might need to ask in class tomorrow. Okay. We're not testing this week or anything, but I just want you to continue to prepare. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good rest of the night.